Hello, this is Connor Sites-Bowen, and these are some miniatures that I painted in the last 40 days. These are actually the first two miniatures that I painted in the last 40 days. I had not picked up a paintbrush and a small die-cast figurine and put them together artistically in perhaps 18 years. Not since late high school, maybe early college, had I last really dabbled with painting miniatures for games like Dungeons and Dragons or Warhammer 40K or innumerable other small games of fantastical combat and exploration and adventure. Uh, I've had an interest in that hobby this whole time, and I have been collecting miniatures, pre-painted ones for the most part, though a fair number of unpainted miniatures as well. And I wanted to spend a little bit of time just going through what I painted so far this summer and how I think I'm progressing. So these are the first two. Again, this is Kami and Hoga. Um, Not again, this is the first time. Well, this isn't the first time. I did record this video, or a version of this once, but I was using a different camera setup that was not nearly as high quality. It ended up defaulting to 360p, which is just an inappropriate small amount of pixels for the amount of detail that these miniatures reflect. Uh, so these are lizard lizard folk. Uh, these two are Kami and Hoga. They're sisters. They defend a kind of mysterious swamp that has some amount of kind of blue, glassy crystals. These are a kind of bizarre kind of hobby sand I picked up at Michael's, which it's not actually sand. It's a decorative fill for making indoor decor that's made out of tiny sharp shards of glass, blue glass that has been crushed up real small. So definitely not a material that I want anywhere else in the rest of my life, but on these two ladies, as the kind of strange, fantastical ground cover they're walking across. I thought it worked pretty well. I was experimenting with their bases a little bit. Kami, the mage, her base is not. You can still see the black round of her base, as if it is definitely a wargaming figure and not kind of a circle of a small miniature scene. Whereas Hoga, the warrior sister, she has a base that the ground extends all the way to the edges, and the flocking actually goes all the way down around the black base. So you might be asking what other kind of creatures live in this kind of swamp. I can show you. We have this frog. This is a cosmic serpent. I'll talk about the frog first. The frog was my first foray into what Miscast, another YouTuber, calls a bits box, which is going to charity shops, in my case the Goodwill outlets in Heidelberg, which is to the southwest of Pittsburgh, and in North Versailles, which is to the southeast of Pittsburgh, spelled like Versailles, pronounced Versailles. It's amazing to me sometimes that we call it Fort Duquesne and not Fort Duquesne or Duquesne University. Though often you'll find newcomers to the city spelling Duquesne, Dukane, which I'm sure that the francophones in the audience, yeah, sound off in the comments if you're a francophone and that offends you. In any case, I picked up this frog for something like $1.50 a pound, which works out to, around 10 cents an ounce. So however many ounces that frog is, perhaps 20 cents. Very cheap. And what these Goodwill outlets are is they are like the warehouse where incoming donations are getting sorted and processed, and the outlet store lets people come and basically sort through the donation bins and purchase things by the pound pretty early on in Goodwill's process. I guess because it's cheaper for them to just liquidate a lot of their inventory by the pound and by the kind of item price. There's like a list that changes online of kind of what the different categories are and what the different prices are. Ceramic and glass has a different price, and individual furniture items have a different, I think they're marked individually. But it's an amazing discount, and it's a great way to acquire hundreds and hundreds of bizarre toys. For a few more examples of those, I really love this dinosaur. It is super goofy. It's clearly been chewed on by a dog. And it already has its own story to tell, which I think is really quite lovely. The cosmic serpent that you see in the foreground here, that was a real journey into holographic illusions. Oh, we lost the dinosaur. Holographic glitter paint, enchanted shimmer, glitterific pop black ice, or as they say in French, glace noire. Craftsman glitter acrylic paint. You might be wondering, like, how did this guy acquire so many paints of these different varieties? Those two are some really great metallics that come in basically a kit of 10 or 12 different tubes, all that size, kind of small, but really good stuff. It works really well. So the Cosmic Serpent's a combination of purple metallic, blue metallic, a lot of those different hollow paints. And the way that the hollow paints work is that they actually end up drying clear, similar to some glues that, the glue is white when it's wet, but then as it actually dries and hardens up, it becomes clear. This one in particular, Black Ice, has many different sizes of glitter that appear within the sort of larger glitter space, which provides a lot. It's really helpful in producing a really strange sense of scale, because it makes the illusion of something that's really kind of big and deep and has a lot of different particles in it and a lot of different depths. The best way to show that is the belly of this behir. So I painted the Cosmic Serpent, which is a magic card from the Kaldheim, the kind of representational Vikings expansion set from a couple years back, maybe last year. But this is the world serpent of that plane, the great cosmic serpent, Cosmos, which has been turned into a Dungeons and Dragons miniature, which is a great coup, I believe, on the part of Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro, the parent company. So this was about the first week, and then I went back to Michael's. Oh, right, yeah, with the paints, you might be asking, how do you get so many different paints? Well, almost all of these I picked up at Michael's, including, of course, you want to go with Winsor Newton Gallery Acrylic Cadmium Orange Hue, and I have, in addition to orange, because chemically it's like a different color, and I wanted a really real orange for those guys. I also got the primary colors, red, yellow, and blue. And I also got a deep green, so I didn't have to like pre-mix the green necessarily. Those are all these sort of artist grade Winsor Newton paints gallery acrylic, and what differentiates them from some of the sort of cheaper paints that you might find is that the artist grade paints have a huge amount of pigment particles compared to that are suspended in a small amount of acrylic medium. Uh, Cheaper paints of a lesser quality will have more medium and fewer particles because the particles are the expensive part. So anyway, I got all of this stuff at Michael's, including the Winsor Newton artist grade paints. This guy's not finished. Oh wow, he's wilding out. So yeah, this was kind of week 2. I went to a hobby store and picked up flocking and little hobby miniature leaves, which I think have been sort of cut with a little cutting stamp out of some kind of paper or something to make tiny leaf-shaped stamp outs. Yeah, so I made some of these other guys. I took an air elemental and got it a little bit dirty, as if it was an air elemental blowing air around in a post-industrial kind of wasteland. Not the sort of nuclear fallout blasted wasteland of your Mad Max and your post-apocalyptic universes of all kinds, but specifically a kind of Rust Belt ruined factory or coal terminal or other place where we had really decided to just pollute the hell out of this one particular valley. And so essentially this is like a pollution monster, but a very natural one arising from the slag iron and the flue ash from coal-powered power plants that provided the power to melt the iron ore into steel, all those sorts of things. There's a mud puppy. This is kind of a work in progress. I haven't finished painting everything and I haven't finished gluing everybody down. But I wanted to see what I could do with the extremely, I think, dumb looking kind of basic green fake trees. They're very two-dimensional that come in not boxes, tubes of dinosaurs. The dinosaur tube, Safari Tube brand tubes of dinosaurs. I also wanted to see what happens when you take a regular rock and you paint the hell out of it with all kinds of metallics and holographics and acrylics, and it turns out like it comes out pretty great. And after I had painted the rock, it was a lot easier for me to paint the air elemental, knowing that kind of each particle that's inside the air elemental is one of these rocks or something that looks a little bit like it. Trying to achieve that purple from here over here, it seemed to work out. This is a hard-headed dinosaur. This is a great philosopher. This is a statue of that dinosaur. You can tell because of the moss and the leaves that have fallen on it, that it's in a kind of swampy environment. I went on to make some city gates, some big horses that would be at the entrance of a large city. These were zebras, both of which had their ears knocked off already, which I found pretty interesting as a kind of artistic. There's already a story here, This is a nice thing about picking these guys up at Goodwill was I think each one was $1.50, which was kind of each glass and ceramic item. This is resin, but they called it ceramic. incredibly cheap. They were zebras, and I repainted them, and I think they look pretty good. I'm gonna go back in with some ground covering paste and some flocking, like uh, probably not the moss flocking there, because these guys live in a sort of desert. Well, they don't live; they're statues in a city in a desert environment, and so uh, they'll be a little bit more arid than the deep swamp statuary. So I started to think a lot more about scale, and I acquired some little grasses. I started to work on different designs for how to think about the ground. You can see I returned here to the kind of black base minimalism. Here I painted the base, I painted the ground a couple of different colors, flocked it, added moss, added some other things, and that seemed to be pretty interesting. This was another Goodwill acquisition. That guy was not orange and black for sure. Some other different color. And then I really made a Kitbash right here. This is the arm, the fallen arm of some great mechanical monkey that was built in a time long past, powered by strange magics no longer well understood, and clearly dismembered during some titanic battle that has been forgotten to time and history. And the bases are increasing in size. So this is a 1-inch round. This is a 2-inch round. This guy's on a 3-inch round. And here is a tall walker on another 3-inch round. The tall walker is actually a little bit out of frame. So let me just put him back here so you can kind of see what he is. He's a bit of a giraffe that has some intense succulent rosette lips instead of where its mouth would normally be. So the tall walkers are inhabitants of a location in Newtopia called the Preservation. This is one of 37 overland travel hexes within the larger hexagonal region of Newtopia, which is 3 ranks of hexagonal rows and concentric rings with a central city hex in the middle. And the preservation is characterized by a yellow fog which emerges from the ground, which is methane, not methane or methane, but methane. It is the myths and stories of an entire dead civilization of avian overlords, and all of their kind of cultural detail is emerging from the ground as a sort of hallucinogenic fog, which is toxic and which will also just really get you disoriented in the regular world and an easy victim to predation. The tall walkers manage the methane by being actually just taller than it. They are herbivores which eat the plants that grow on the floating boulders that are part of kind of the shattered remnants of what this land was before the methane. And they walk amongst the yellow fog, but they're a little too tall to actually breathe it in. And as you can see, their skin is a different color and has some different properties in the parts of the tall walker, which is more exposed to the methane. And so I finished out my 40 days of making weird stuff with this big boy. And here you can truly kind of get a sense of the scale of Dungeons and Dragons. Right, here's a 5-foot base, or 1 inch, a 10-foot base, 2 inches, a 15-foot base, 3 inches. And this is a 4-inch base, a 20-foot base. This is a Medusa bowl. Whoa, knocked the table around there. The Medusa bowls are native to the Oryx Steppes, which is a kind of dry wasteland. And they wander the wastes blindly like these huge herbivores, but they don't eat anything on the ground. The succulent plants that seem to be growing out of the part of their flesh that's meat, the part of their flesh that's plant is quite mobile and just snatches birds and griffins and astral fish right out of the air and brings them down to the mouth for absorption. So this is my first 40 days of painting again. It's been fun. I've learned a lot. I feel like there's clearly a big jump in quality between the two sisters, which I adore, and I will not be repainting them. If anything, I'll be picking up more copies of the minis. I think that this is one set of lizard folk that comes in a pair. That's a single pack, so I'll just buy another pack and do an update with all that I've learned in the last month. But these two, they're staying like that. They're good. I love them. I don't want to change them at all. Yeah, because 40 days ago that's what I made, and a couple days ago I made this big shiny buffalo and this weird giraffe, and it's great fun. So I hope that you I hope you found this entertaining. I mean, if you're 22 minutes into the video, you must have found this entertaining. I hope you learned a little bit, and if you have any questions about what my processes were for making these things, I don't know, if you want to know what kind of super glue I use, leave it in the comments, and yeah, I will either answer in the comments or make another video, or yeah, further clarify and engage. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for nerding out with me and listening to me tell stories about my strange toys. It's quite delightful for me. Have a great night.